Well, I guess there are better ways of starting an episode rather than falling anywhere. Hello there, everybody. Spy92 aka Nightmare, and welcome back to DS Irae interview with Kaziklu Bey. Oh, how do I even begin to describe how awesome last episode was? First off, the LDO versus Methuselah, or his fucking name is Methuselah. We know he's Ludwig, but I don't know. I'm just kind of stuck between whether I want to refer to him as Methuselah or Ludwig, or, you know, in the more colloquially term, wrecked, because it seemed like it did seem kind of one-sided, having the LDO just seemingly crumble somewhat to Methuselah. Also, his power is pretty dope, I'm not gonna lie about that. But on a more positive note, seeing possibly the highlight right there was just how do I casually just summarize this? Friggin' Reinhardt's like, hey, you want my power, Bay? Have at it. Shit, yeah! And then all of a sudden, Bay is just going ham on Methuselah with like the power of the fucking power of the fucking gold. Just just seeing him actually like. It was almost like an even battle just because he finally got some sort of advantage over Methuselah, and it never occurred to me that this would be used, but the fact that Claudia was inside of Methuselah, and the fact that some of Bay's blood was in there, and he used that to his advantage, that was perfection. However, it seems like this battle is certainly not over, considering Methuselah is somehow has survived the Holy Lance's immense light, and it looks like he dragged both Bay and Claudia down to the ground, I'm assuming. Judging by what I'm seeing right now, it seems like they're still kind of flying. So let's get started. It looks like, one more thing. It looks like we might be able to, either finish it next week or, I don't know. It depends on what time I've got right now. But let's do this. And so, the incompatible men somehow ended up cooperating as they unintentionally took to the exact same action. Protecting Claudia? Wilhelm and Ludwig used the last of their remaining powers to protect Claudia, giving their all to soften her landing. There we go. The one time they worked together, they didn't let go of her, even as they crashed into the frozen land from thousands of meters high, had their bodies shattered, and gushed out large amounts of blood. They kept holding her, even as they collapsed down a slippery slope like trash and were cut apart by the shattering ice. When they finally came to a halt, they found themselves in a world covered in snow, as far as the eye could see. Oh my god. Okay, I am in a large amount of pain right now. The first to stand up was Ludwig. He'd lost all the proof of his identity as the god ancestor of the dark. His skin color, eye color, and the darkness he was clad in. All of it had vanished without a trace. In fact, Reinhardt's strike had shattered the part of him that you could call his core. His vanishing was an inevitability, and he used the little remnants of his power to save Claudia. The fact that he could even keep a human form was a miracle. Not even he knew why he was capable of that, but it was most likely his tenacity. No other explanation worked. So he instantly stopped thinking about it, and moved towards something far more important. He had to confirm the welfare of his light. His soulmate was far more important to him than his meager life. Dragging his feet through the snow, he approached the nun lying on the pallid ground. Hearing her light groans filled him with relief. Ludwig kneeled down and checked her condition. Her cheeks and hands were bloody, most likely due to cuts from the ice, but he couldn't see any other visible wounds. No broken bones or anything. This is probably thanks to her nature as a half-vampire. Though the source, Methuselah's power, had vanished, the fact that Ludwig continued his existence was enough to keep her healthy. In that case, there was only one thing left for him to do. No, not really. She's kinda mine, bitch. I have to take her somewhere safe, he thought. His disappearance was drawing closer with every passing second. After he vanished, Claudia would return to being weak and ill, and her death would be nigh instant. He couldn't allow that no matter what. Though it had become impossible for him to live with her until the day it all ended, this wasn't about that. With that oath, he reached to pick her up. Yeah, did you forget I was here? The voice that erupted from behind was dense with a heat so great it felt like it could thaw the surrounding permafrost. Listen, I haven't been covered in this much blood since my teenage years, so let's just fucking get over with this so I can take a bath. Not saying a word, the two men glared at each other. Both of them were in a horrid state. Wilhelm's wounds were exceptionally deep. During the battle in the sky, he'd been receiving the boon of Gladsheim, but he was left completely dry at present. The only soul left in him was his own. Wilhelm had clearly burned up nearly all the souls he had when he delivered his last strike on Ludwig, and then went on to dedicate the little power he had left to saving Claudia. Which is great. As he was, Wilhelm couldn't even regenerate properly. If he did that, he would whittle his own soul and lose parts of himself. It wasn't certain what exactly would happen if he attempted it, but it couldn't be anything good. To waste life to keep yourself alive was clearly absurd. It was an act akin to putting the cart before the horse. Wilhelm was currently on the same level as a common human. All the magic running through his veins was as good as sealed. Here in the Arctic in this severe cold, his momentary return to normality meant his death. Therefore, he'd already decided what he had to do. The worst part is that this entire situation is just so fucked up. She was just an innocent nun who was born with a condition that nobody asked for. She wanted to be in the light despite the fact that she was unable to. And then we have these two, who... they both care for her in their own demented ways. I mean... I think it's because it's in the realm of fiction that I'm allowed to at least kind of, I don't know, explore this sort of field. They're fictional characters. If this was in real life, good God, they need to be locked the fuck up, but I'm just saying. Ludwig is ignoring her pleas because she wants, I guess, she wants to continue to crave the light, which is killing her. He doesn't want her to die, which is technically going against her wishes. Again, it's dark, it's messed up, but they're both selfish in a way that they care about Claudia. If that makes, fuck, I'm having a hard time getting my words together here. Like, despite, you know, me siding with Bey here, I can't necessarily hate Ludwig, aka Methuselah. I can't necessarily despise him as much as I want to. Which is why, I guess that's kind of why I like this. It's a different take. Like, they're both just evil, in a way. Although I guess if we're talking about alignment, we've got, I don't know, like, I realize Bey is leaning toward the more chaotic side, and Ludwig is obviously leaning more toward the law. But I don't know. I just realized it's almost kind of like they're both. They're literally just two sides of the same coin, I think. I don't know. Fuck. I'm having a hard time drawing comparisons here. Feel free to laugh at me in the comments. Ludwig wrung out a sentence that was tinged with grudge and wrath. Indeed, after all, murdering her was the only way Wilhelm could survive. Yep, and that has been a very powerful, consistent detail that has been rung throughout this. And you know what? I am kind of happy that Wilhelm has, instead of become a hypocrite, he has stayed consistent and evolved as he's going along. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. Wilhelm is not a hypocrite. I think that's the word. I think that's the phrase that I'm looking for here. The words he spat out were dense with displeasure, but there wasn't any laudable reason for that. I can't help it. The situation calls for it. Those were more or less his thoughts on the matter, but he omitted none of the tragedy characteristic of someone in an emergency. Yep. You wanted her to be a shining light, to be a very powerful soul, and now look what we got. Now, part of me knowing Bey, part of me kind of thinks like he's just saying that to piss off Ludwig in a way. Sort of. Ludwig couldn't ignore that word. Despite being on the verge of fading, he roared with fiery passion. Wilhelm's voice, however, was the epitome of serene. He spoke only to get it all over with. That was the simple truth in Wilhelm's eyes. Also, to be kind of fair, there is a sort of granted this is kind of a sequel, but you get what, it's a fucking sequel prequel. You do realize I'm still alive. What comes after this, just so you know, what the actual hell are you even talking about?
ここで殺すと。その通りだ。
There was no room for argument. All that was left was to assert their beliefs by crushing the other party to death.
彼女が貴様より弱いなどと勝手に決めないでもらいたい。
そう思うなら、てめえは今すぐそのバカ叩き起こして光らせろ。てめえにできるもんならな。
I seriously love this theme that's playing right now.
やってみせるさ。私が守る。
One stop forward, then another. The two approached each other, and the moment they were within range, they raised their fists, along with their pride. We exchanged blows, making our jaws fly upward and painting the Arctic blizzard red with our crimson blood. Yo! Oh my god! This looks so fucking cool! Our fists were the only weapons we could rely on. I was broken. He was on the verge of vanishing. Yet our burning spirit for the fight was without limit. Oh. This could easily be a goddamn wallpaper. Both of us swore to defeat the other no matter what. We sought something we just couldn't give up on, so anyone standing in our way would merely be pulverized. I won't let you have Claudia. Acting upon that very sentiment, we both punched each other again and again. The impacts broke our bones and our torn skin left spots of blood in our fists. Yet we didn't and couldn't stop. We just had no reason to. We continued swinging our explosive punches until the shit before me was crawling on the ground. I had no fucking intention of dying in this lifeless shithole.
よりによってこれがてめえの理想郷だと。ここには何もありゃしねえ。何の流れも存在しねえ。ただ凍ってそれで終わりだ。これこそ虚無と言うんじゃねえのか。
This was a world that had nothing but a white darkness as far as the eye could see. There was no day or night, so for all I knew, not even time moved. It was a dead end if I ever saw one. Suddenly I was hit with a certain epiphany. Malleus's mental image of this guy was great because he yearned for the place. He was chasing a land where light and darkness melted together. The white night.
終わりの日までバカかてめえは。終わってんのはここだろうが。てめえごときが目としら名乗んな。こんな場所に愛着持ってる時点で見え見えなんだよ。一度も生きたことはねえだけだろうが。
I launched a kick into his stomach, making him lean forward, and followed it up with an uppercut. Then when I tried to go for more, he countered by throwing his fist into my right eye. It was as though he tried to crush my blind, prejudiced eyes that couldn't see his perspective.
貴様にはそう見えるのだろう。殺すことしか知らん貴様にはな。
Hey, I got knowledge on wine.
確かにこの地は極限だ。木には茂らず、草すらまともに生えてこない。奪う獲物に不足するのは事実だろうが、それでも営みは存在するのだ。厳しい環境だからこそ、命は崇高に輝いている。俗世に見られる無駄な消費も乱用もない。故に自然だ。火のままの姿だ。光と闇が同居して原初の姿を今でも唯一保っている。それを食い出のあるなしでしか判断しない狭く単純な価値観だな。だから浅いと言っている。物が貴様のような輩が世界を荒廃させているのだ。
族の何が悪いんだバカ野郎。
Ooh, hey, oh, oh yeah, oh they are going at it. Ooh, they are just oh they are just absolutely just fucking going at it, and oh my god, do I fucking love it. I roared and punched his temple. We tottered every now and then, but ignored the pain screams of our legs and continued this mirror-like exchange of blows.
つまんねえもんはつまんねえし、まずいもんはまずいんだよ。わびださびだと抜かしてりゃ頭良くなったつもりか間抜け。誰も褒めねえもんを褒めてりゃなんか悟った気にでもなれんのか。そんなもんは引きこもりの地位なんだよ。
Oh my god.
俗離れした仙人なんぞは骨と皮のカスだろうが。
Well, that's certainly one way of putting it.
薄っぺらいのは一体どっちだこのボケが。
Something rare isn't automatically precious, and it being hard to understand doesn't mean it's true. Finding value in something no one even looks at is fine and dandy, but there's nothing noble about it.
てめえに俺の持論を教えてやるよ。
Though it just come to me at that very moment.
売れてるもんの出来がいいとは必ずしも限らねえが、売れねえもんの出来がいいなんてことはありえないんだよ。
There was a point at everything. Contests, economics, intelligence, strength, etc. Which you could start to brag upon reaching. Though it was vague and different for each field, it was certainly there. And acting like you were better than the rest before you reached it was always looked down upon.
そこにさえ届かねえもんは、てめえみたいなやつがどれだけ持ち上げようがクソだ。負け犬が負け犬に自己投影してるだけだろうが。
It was basically an underdog effect. A useless guy was just advocating for something useless that couldn't even make the cut. Looking at it that way gave him salvation and made him feel enlightened.
俺はそんなもの認めねえ。
Of course, there's also the opposite of that. The bandwagon effect. Popular shit is popular and money attracts money, making stuff keep winning regardless of quality and ability. Junk food sells the most, but that doesn't mean that a Coke and burger is the best meal in the world. Even so, I don't hate that kind of loneliness. The worldliness. In fact, I find it much more relatable than the worship of dumb shit. I mean, junk food is where it is because it passed the mark and won. It was also able to become popular and is still getting more popularity because of it. It was nothing like the useless shit that failed from the get-go and continued to exist only out of pity from other losers.
そんなもんは自称違いのわかるソムリエ気取りしか崇めねえペラッペラの聖域だろ。てめえにお似合いだぜクソバカが。のし上がろうって覇気が足りねえ。
This place is perfectly suited for a guy who accepted that he would die along with the world.
いや、よく聞けこの野郎。愚かだろうが賊だろうが、勝って勝ち続けるやつが強えんだよ。全てを飲み込み、食らって膨れ上がるのが波動ってもんだ。
I shouted and threw a punch that carried the weight of my sentiment. My worldview and mind rejected the trashy paradise of his.
木は茂らず、森にならず、草すらまともに生えてこね
If nature had an aforementioned point, it would be the tree line. Just what kind of value was there to an environment where even fucking plants ran away?
え。流行らねえんだよ、こんな場所は。クズを無理やり持ち上げていい空気吸ってんじゃねえぞ。
High altitudes and latitudes, areas where trees couldn't be born, were the underdogs in this case. Upon realizing that, I figured out why I was so pissed by those idiots who'd get all pleased with themselves when claiming they were small in comparison to the great majesty of old Mother Nature. The nature they so revered included the places beyond the tree line. White nights, aurora mountains, even outer space were no exception. Those who tried to elevate all that shit disgusted me like diehard fans of movies that didn't sell for shit. They were losers who acted all unenlightened despite none of that shit changing reality at all. Fucking hell, did I want to punch and kill them all. That was all there was to it. Lowly as I was, that was how I processed the situation.
ならば
We'd started out hurt all over, and the punches we'd exchanged in spite of that would be exceeded the triple digits already. And yet our fighting spirit showed no sign of fading. He roared as if to blow away the frozen wind.
この地に干渉しないとでも言うつもりか。いや違う。知っているぞ。自然を壊し、星を食らっても生きるのが人間だと抜かしたからな。
He directly headbutted my face, making me dizzy and fucking up my vision before following it up with a storm of kicks and punches. The blood I spurted into the wind froze in midair, and he kept on punching, catching some and making it shatter. Clad in red, diamond-like dust, Ludwig burned his vanishing body for all it was worth.
クズでも貴様は食らうのだろう。己が生きるためならば全てを飲み込むつもりだろう。価値を認めていないものですら蹂躙するのが波動と嘘吹き恥もなく、共存という選択を持たず無関心すら貫かない。光と寄り添わず他者に感謝の心も捧げず、かといって人に孤高に生きもしない。果てに具現するのはただの荒野だ。波動だと笑わせるなよ。翡翠の虫けらに責任分際で。豪深き宿主すら殺す寄生虫が貴様らだ。挙句星と心中する首相さすら持っていない。どこまでも貪り続け、いつまでも飢え続ける。一つ制覇すればその次、それが終わればまた次。際限なく進む呪われた軍隊だ。おぞましすぎてヘドが出る。太陽すら貪って訪れた暗黒を真の夜だと歌うのか。これこそ思考の求めた世界だと誇るのか。何度も言うぞ、貴様は浅い。
Probably is, yeah. Still on the verge of death, Methuselah punched me with all his remaining might. Seemed like a show of pride from a representative of the old world.
それこそ証だと言っているのだ。貴様の求める不死は虚無と変わらん。
He claimed that it wasn't just a matter of whether it was beyond or too much for me. The glory I was seeking simply didn't even exist.
故に貴様はその手に何もつかめない。元からないものを目指しているのだ。どれだけ飢えて乾こうと得られないのは道理だろう。
His words reminded me of the time Mercurius evaluated me as one who'd endlessly have things taken from him.
貴様が貴様で己の在り方を奪っている。鬼愛だよ治水虫。光を射んで闇に這い出るうつろな魂は最初から死んでいる。無に何をかけても無にしかならん。そしてこれはおそらく貴様の主にも言えることだ。
Oh, you just pushed the Reinhard button. Those words made my consciousness go past the boiling point. We were in conflict and fought because of it, so I was willing to take any and all verbal abuse, regardless of how reasonable your words were. Talking was a part of battle as well. It didn't stray from the rules. Still, this was just between us. So why the fuck did he bring someone else into this?
勘だがな、あの男の波動は破綻している。成立しない。仮にアイドリヒが全てを制覇したとして、その時あいつは消えるだろう。あれはそういうものだと確信した。そして奴に付き従うお前たちも総じてうつろだ。俺の目には巨大な矛盾の塊と映る。あれはまるで。
It's as though you're fated to change into the emptiness while not recognizing it as such and then destroy yourselves. He'd gone and done it. My very soul wouldn't forgive that. We launched an attack at each other's jaws. I staggered for a few seconds before letting my erupting consciousness take over. Soon enough, the soundscape was once again drowned in the echoes of our screams and impacts. Oh, there, fucking going at him. It felt like my overflowing blood was flowing back to my trachea, but not even that was enough for my body to stop functioning. The conflict grew even more violent and I accelerated it further despite bleeding profusely. I didn't have an ear for that level of bullshit. There was a limit to just how much of a sore loser you could be. It was irrational, meaningless nonsense that I denied with all I was. He forced his elbow into my face and howled back at me. After all, Lord Hydric would destroy all that exists. I'm Kaziklu Bey, motherfucker. I'm fucking conceited as fuck. Well, that won't be until another novel, so fuck off. He was talking way too much shit. We would be the last and the strongest, while he'd be some half-assed idiot who died on the way. I just realized my language becomes slightly more vulgar the more I do this goddamn Bay voice.
Which is literally just a variation of the Leo voice, so congratulations. Bay just freaking tainted Leo.
Because we were strong, we could follow the clearest of all hegemonies and continue to move forward. Continuous evolution.
てめえらみたいな古いもんが何を言おうが負け犬の遠吠えに過ぎねえ。そっちが強えって言うんなら消えるわけがねえんだからな。
Thus, my style didn't change. The newest was the strongest, and thinking about how shit was ages ago was a waste of time.
神秘だ魔術だ奇跡だ真理だボケクソしな。もうなくなっちまった雑魚のくせにでけえ面さらすんじゃねえ。だからいい加減に消え。
I roared and hit him with my whole body. Ludwig took it head on before ringing out a response. And hell, the off one in a billion or even smaller chance that he somehow perished? That was the true Methuselah, the embodiment of the ideal I sought. And for its sake, I couldn't let myself die in such a shitty place, so... I wouldn't let him have her. I needed her. I'd have fucking loved it if he finally realized how vain it was of trying to talk to me in terms of general morality. Still, there was one thing I could say that fit this style of his.
お前はよ、結局一方通行なんだよ。惚れてんのは勝手だ。好きに愛でも何でもほざいてろ。だがそれでお前はあいつにどんなもんを生んでやれるんだ。
一体何を。
Guys, let's look at the comparison. You give her a life that she doesn't want, and technically he can give her a death that she wants.
What was I saying? It was really damn simple. So simple that I didn't even want to tell it to the guy, but...
お前、あいつに好かれるつもりがねえだろ。そんなことはどうでもいいだの言ったんじゃねえのか、色男。
Yeah. Yeah. He did say that. He did most certainly say that. He got you, didn't he?
He healed her illness, gave her life, embraced her with love, and had intended to spend the time until the end of days together. Those were his acts and desires, and they were all one-sided. Selfish. It was only about himself. Sure, some would see it as a selfless dedication that asked for no reward or some shit, but it was clearly warped. It was measured based only on his own scale.
あいつが真に輝く時ってのはどんなもんか、ちゃんと考えたことがあんのかい。
I definitely had. He'd obviously call my outlook arrogant and selfish, but at the very least, I was conscious of how it looked like from both mine and her perspectives.
なんで主導権を丸投げしなきゃいけねえんだ。言っただろう。俺はあいつに惚れたいから、まずは惚れさせたいんだよ。
That emotion would be the light I'd grant her. She would never be fulfilled if someone did nothing but support her like this guy right here. Claudia was greedy after all, not to mention an idiot who tended to act innocent. Even if she wasn't conscious of it, nothing but two-sided love would make her perplexed and puzzled.
私は罪深いと言わせたいんだ。
I wanted to make her shout a soulful cry for life.
その時あいつは半分じゃねえ自分をようやく知って認められる。光を手にできるんだよ。てめえにそれは与えられね
ならば貴様は。
I was just about done with this bullshit. I took a step forward and ready to end it.
どのようにしてそうさせる。人の心は都合よく操れぬ。貴様の報ずる波動でもこれは専門外だろう。
え。分かってんよ。そこがめんどくせえからこそ。
Claudia had to die for my sake. This was set in stone, unshakable. And if I wanted her to become my sustenance, it was best to make sure she was good enough for me.
面白えんだろうが。とにかくてめえは言っとけや。
At that moment, I decided against using her as emergency ration. Despite the situation being extreme, or perhaps because of it, I figured that I had to stick to my original plan. Staking it all on my next punch, I lost my consciousness to a white-hot darkness.
The echoes faded, and only one was left standing. He breathed raggedly while looking down at the man at his feet. Though an onlooker would assume he was the winner, his eyes weren't those of someone who'd claimed victory. The words he was told before the finishing blow left him shaken. Despite being able to take out his foe, he couldn't bring himself to do it. In a way, Wilhelm had won. He defeated Ludwig by pointing out something he hadn't realized.
私は。
He'd been told he was one-sided. He'd done nothing but give to his beloved without even considering the idea of receiving anything. He wondered why he didn't make an effort to make love bloom in her heart. Was it because he didn't think it necessary? Because he thought he was incapable of that? Or perhaps it was naught but a backlash against Wilhelm's selfish logic. No, none of those were correct.
私はおそらく怖かったのだ。
You mean like afraid of being rejected? I'm assuming? Oh, okay. Since she was the light, he feared that his dark influence would change her. Though he'd already acted as a vampire and transformed her into one, it was entirely different. He was certain that her nature wouldn't change no matter what her outer attributes were, and that turned out to be true. However, the same couldn't be said when the influence acted upon the heart. Claudia knew not of love, and he believed that bestowing it to her would be like contaminating her with a foreign substance. It would be the same as spilling ink on pure, fresh snow.
終わりましたか?
He finally realized that thinking that to be heresy was heretical in itself. After all, he decided that being with him would make her akin to a fallen angel. He'd underestimated the vigor of his beloved, doubted the unchanging nature of light. Albeit belatedly, it made him realize that his defeat was nothing short of inevitable.
気がついていたのだね。
ええ、途中からですが。
Ludwig turned around and faced Claudia with a wry smile on his face. Not only was she away to see the battle, she'd probably been aware of his misguided advances as well. It made him feel so shameful that he could only let out a laugh.
前の時は途中で止めたら怒られてしまいましたので、こういう時は黙って見守るべきなのだろうと考えました。私、間違っているでしょうか?
いや、おかげですっきりできたよ。
You know, bit of an art thing here. I like this. You see a personification of the darkness, and you have a clear representation of the light. And in the background, it's a snowy field. I like that as a visual representation. That's very well done. She'd never been mistaken about anything, and she never would be. He sincerely believed that, even if no one else did.
よかった。すごくハラハラしたんですよ。男の方というものはやっぱり子供でどうにも放っておけませんね。あまり賢くもないようですし。
すまない。まったく耳が痛い限りだよ。
She was reprimanding him, making it appear to be quite the ordinary scene. Considering their current situation and all that had happened, it was exceedingly nonchalant of her. However, that was exactly why he found her more dear than anything else. The embarrassment it gave him was so pleasant that even the Arctic blizzard felt like not more than a spring breeze.
本当に困った人たち。だけど私はそんなあなた方を眩しいと感じました。綺麗だと、美しいと感じました。そして何より。
Claudia paused, seemingly bashful about the situation. Ludwig continued her words in her stead.
冥利に尽きると。
はい。罪深いですか?
Well, if we're being specific, pride is a sin, but...
いや、可愛らしいよ。光栄な話だ。
Two men fought for the sake of a single woman. Though indeed foolish, it was a tale as old as time. Thus, as the actors, they had adhered to their roles. While the men burned their bodies and souls for the woman's sake, she would fight the heartache while simultaneously feeling great pride. They'd gone all out for her sake, so she wanted to praise them for their effort. Some might call it an act of a wicked woman, But there was no denying that if she considered their plight disagreeable, disgusting, or foolish, the whole scene would be rendered thoroughly vain.
そう考えれば、私も君に何かを芽生えさせることができたのかな。ああ、だったら、私の生涯にも。
This life cycle of mine wasn't in vain, he whispered. Though he couldn't live with her until the end of days, he still left a mark on the heart of the woman he saw as his soulmate. In that case, all was well. That alone was enough for Methuselah, this ancient, nigh-eternal wanderer.
幸あれかし、愛しい君よ。私は光を信じている。その選択がどのような未来を描こうとも、たたえよう。君は君が望むまま、やりたいようにやって生き。
Then,
果てるのだよ、クラウディア。
はい、素直に生きたいと思います。あなたがそれを気づかせてくれたから。
damn. Thus he vanished, melting into the white night. He finally returned to nature at his paradise, land where light and dark coexisted. The end of the old world was close, but the death of the most ancient being, the only one left, would be the origin. No one on the scene actually knew what it was, and when its demise would come, but regardless, Claudia dedicated a prayer. She dearly held the rosary, the Rosenkranz on her chest, as though that was where the answer lay.
What I felt was an unbelievable warmth. I wasn't fucked up enough to forget what I was doing before I passed out. God, I shed tons of blood, didn't have enough souls dedicated to reviving myself, and fuck, the place is the goddamn Arctic. No matter how you looked at it, it was a situation that can only make me feel cold, so the hell was this? Though I was mostly puzzled, a part of me knew exactly what it was. Ah, this was what I was seeking. It was the feeling of being loved. The feeling it created within my chest was far stronger than any blood pact. With that certainty, I opened my eyes and saw her form a faint smile.
ええ。だけどそれは普通私のセリフですよ。自分がどういう状況なのか分かってます？
I kind of feel like what happens when somebody indulges too much in happy hour. Yep, pretty much same thing. Of course I did. As I said, I wasn't that fucked up. She let me lie on her lap and looked down on me. The sky in this land had no day or night, and it felt like Claudia was melting into it. Her unworldly state of being was so abnormal that even I was able to instantly realize her life was fading. She was weak to begin with, and Ludwig's disappearance took away her vampiric powers. It was only obvious what would happen to her if she stayed in this permafrost while wearing such light clothing. Her talking about the state I was in made me want to send those words right back at her, but I figured that would be tasteless. And I'm classy, you don't know. She clearly knew her situation, and because of that, she was...
なんです？
She was shining brightly to the point that I wanted to stain her in blood. I could hardly bear my urges. This shit was weird. I could barely muster any of my strength. Couldn't even reach for her face even though it was right beside me. This was the right time to kill her. I had to make her crave life and then take it. It was a moment I'd been waiting for far too long, and ironically, I didn't have the power to follow through when that perfect moment finally arrived. I'd killed thousands, and even crushed a being above mankind. Killing was my specialty, and I was confident that it'd be hard to outmatch me at it. But then fate threw me this shitty curveball. One moment when I had to kill someone when it was most important. I didn't even have the strength to deal with a single dying woman. I didn't know if it was something to lament, be mad about, or just laugh at. My mouth was about the only thing that worked, and I used it to say my wish. My earnest whisper felt like a distant meow, but I didn't give a shit about that.
殺したいんだよクラウディア。だから言えよ。死にたくないと。
That would be enough to invigorate my soul. A glimpse of her light would once again give me the power to fly through the night. My bloodlust was like a plea, while my confession sounded like a threat. It was really damn awkward, but it was the only way I could express my feelings.
俺のために咲き誇って俺のために枯れるんだよ。バラとなって命を渡せ。それがお前の役目だクソ女。
Oh, this is Bey we're talking about. This is probably the only way that he can properly convey his feelings.
In response, Claudia formed a somewhat troubled expression. She touched my cheek with her fingers, though they were freezing. Found them warm and somewhat soothing. The words she said next were full of affection.
天使とは綺麗な花をまく存在じゃありません。苦しんでいる人のために戦う者のことを言うんです。私がナイチンゲールを尊敬しているという話はしましたよね。今のも彼女の言葉ですよ。だから私は花よりも天使になりたい。あなたのような。
What the hell is she saying? Me? A fucking angel? The comparison was so out there that I couldn't find how to respond. Claudia took advantage of that and continued.
あなたは私を救うためにいつも全力でいてくれました。それがたとえどんなものでも。一般的ではないでしょうし、だいぶおかしな関係でしたが、あなたなりに私を正そうとしてくれたのは確かでしょ。良きところへ行けるようにと。
違う。
It was something I couldn't accept as the truth, so I denied her words. I wanted to make her drown in blood and filth, to make her pathetically bawl so as I gouged her dirty bits and destroyed the illusion that she could experience a clean, pure death. I didn't give a shit if that made her feel like Helga. That was the nature of hegemony. It ignored what people thought and wanted and just advanced while consuming everything along the way. It's demonic rather than angelic. I'd bring her down, crush her, and repaint her. I thought I couldn't love her unless she turned filthy. But
本当に
for some reason, I couldn't continue to assert my denial. Her gentle expression and tone were actually pressuring me somehow.
私はあなたに恋を教えることで救いたいし、救われたかった。でもそれだけじゃやっぱり罪深いことなんですね。なぜなら今死にそうなあなたを見るのがとてもつらい。死別に嘆く人たちは数限りなく見てきたのに、こうして体験するまでその悲しみを正しく分かっていなかったなんて恥ずかしい。私がやろうとしていたことはあなたにこんな気持ちを与えること。
It would be a curse and an act most sinful. Claudia deprecated herself for ever thinking of doing it. Regardless, in my eyes, she was really damn stupid and wrong.
破壊の愛だ。
To kill and consume because of love. There was no place for sensitivity to lament death. She was preaching to the wrong guy. I didn't want to hear her ludicrous self-reflection.
でも私はそう思ってしまいます。つまり噛み合っていないんですよ。一方通行はいけませんね。
Oh, God damn it, she's using my words against me.
これはあなたがルイに言ったことでしょ。
Ah, crap, she got me. She fucking heard that? God, it made me feel bashful and angry. Overwhelmingly the latter. I glared at her, but her eyes didn't waver. In fact, she seemed pleased.
あなたの心を奪いながらこちらの心を差し出さないのでは釣り合わない。代わりに命を捧げれば同等だろうと最初は思っていましたが、やっぱりそれも違うんですね。あなたは強く生きたいと願っている。だからその糧になるものは軽く差し出される命なんかじゃ見合わない。結局何が言いたいのかと言いますと、
She took a deep breath and fixed her posture as if preparing to declare victory. Despite that, the wide smile spread out on her face looked like an expression of surrender.
あなたが好きです、ヴィルヘルム。私にこの気持ちを与えるため戦ってくれたあなたをクラウディアは愛しています。
With that, according to her, it wasn't one-sided anymore. She looked as though she'd accepted and realized that alone was the answer to everything.
死にたくないと思うことが罪深いんじゃない。大事なのは自分が何のために生きているかを知ることだって教えられました。ルイにしろあなたにしろ自分が生きる理由を知っている。そんなあなたたちを私は眩しいと感じたから。
So there was no sin in falling for me and professing the feeling, even if she went on to die afterward.
私もまた輝けるでしょう。光となって良きところへ。あなたを愛し愛されることであなたを求められる。双方向につながることで私の命は2人分。もう決して軽くない。半分じゃない。
She was now certain that no matter what happened, it would all be balanced between us.
死にたくないと思います。そしてあなたを死なせたくないと思います。私を奪ってください、ヴィルヘルム。これは両立する気持ちなんです。私の一方通行じゃないのなら。
If both parties loved each other, then they were equal, meaning that the sins would be canceled out and they would be elevated. When separate, the sadness of losing the woman you love and the regret of leaving behind the man you love would become curses, but when together, they both became a light. A minus and minus made a plus, and thus, according to her, there was nothing to lament. I wanted to see her turn dirty. Wanted her to scream like mad and writhe in agony until she was all bloody. And yet, what I had here was a woman who, despite saying that she didn't want to die, was actually intent on dying for my sake. Not only that, but she proudly stated she didn't see any contradiction in that. Right now, her soul shone far too radiantly for a vampire like me.
てめえが嫌いだ。
Perhaps, just as she'd claimed, a part of me was already fully aware of what she meant. All of my talk of wishing to dirty her was just a childish front. I believed more than anyone else that she would never fall into the darkness. After all, that was why I defined her as a rare, precious light when we first met.
嫌いなんだよ。てめえみたいなやつは気持ち悪い。死ぬなら死ね。食ってやるよ。だが俺の心は奪われちゃいねえ。 てめえがくたばろうがこれっぽっちも。
Sad. This was the love of destruction. I was one of the gold's claws and fangs, and I would walk the hegemony of strife. I wouldn't waver on that point. I definitely wasn't trying to stop her. This was just, a matter of who was in charge of the relationship. Didn't like the fact that she seemed to assume that I was the one who fell for her first, so I just argued. That was all. Yeah, there was nothing more to that. But
言ったでしょ、あなたとルイの喧嘩は見ていたと。2回ともだいたいしっかり見ましたよ。
sounded as though she knew exactly what went down in my head. Hell, probably did.
主導権とかどうせそれでしょ。まったく男の人はよくわからないことにこだわるんですね。まあそんなところも可愛らしいと思いますが、いいでしょう。わかりました。
Do what? I wonder if she made a face like that. She just had the best idea ever. It's really fucking ominous, I tell ya.
天使は戦うものだと言ったでしょ。だから私も私なりの戦いをしてるんです。本当にひねくれてる誰かさんを少しは素直にさせたいという、そんな戦い。きっとそれはその人の欠点で良くない未来につながりそうだから、何とかしてあげたいんです。なのでまずはこちらから譲歩しましょう。例の主導権でしたっけ。そこはあなたの勝ちで構いませんよ。どうぞお好きに誇ってください。
Well, it didn't sure take long for a certain someone to become you. And hell, I really couldn't be happy about a trashy victory that was handed to me on a silver platter. Made me grind my teeth in frustration, but she completely ignored that and continued.
そういう男性のこだわりを組んであげたんですから、女のこだわりも組んでもらいたいと思います。ちゃんと言葉が欲しいんですよ。
Oh my god.
憎まれ口ばかり叩いて言わなくてもわかるだろうとかやめてください。そして面倒だからと適当に言うのもやめてください。私が納得できるようなあなたの気持ちが偽りじゃないと確信できる裏付けと、その上での言葉以上がなされないとこのまま置いて帰っちゃいますよ。そういうわけで、はい、どうぞ。
He's got you there, dude.
Go back? Where the fuck would she go? We were in a goddamn permafrost! I knew it was shitty bluff, but I had neither the energy nor time to protest.
俺がてめえに惚れてるなんざまだ一言も言っちゃいねえし、何をそれ前提に進めてんのか知らねえが。
If this was necessary for me to get out of here alive, I'd just do it.
具体的にどうしろっつうの。言葉の裏付けとかそんなもん。
Oh, this poor boy.
そうですね。例えば
Claudia paused and formed a mischievous smile. That was the moment when I noticed a small detail that seemed off. It was dangling right in front of me.
私のちょっとした変化に気づいてみせたりとか、それだけちゃんと見てくれたんだなぁと感じさせてくれるようなものを。
She'd insisted on the exact same thing some time ago, and
お前、ロザリオ変わってんじゃねえか。
Yeah. It's gold.
the moment I pointed it out, a torrent of light erupted before me.
Uh-oh.
At the same time as his words reached me,
Oh, wait. At the same time as his words reached me, the feelings within me burst. It was joy, bliss, and light. The fact that he noticed the change made me certain of his feelings. I was truly loved. It wasn't one-sided. That made me satisfied. I didn't want to die, and I didn't want him to die. And the fact that I was able to say that it wasn't a contradiction with a smile on my face was proof that I was no longer half a person. Because of that, I wanted to become an angel for your sake. The sins were canceled out and sublimed with the tone of divine bliss. I had nothing to be anxious about by that point, so I let him take me. And right before I yielded to him, this happened.
何なの？
The rosary on my chest became heated and released a light so great it was destructive. It felt as though it was draining my very soul. Neither I nor Wilhelm, especially not him, knew what was going on, but my confused consciousness assembled a scene from the past. I felt like it was pointing me to the answer.
君はどうやら長くないね。
On the day when I'd first arrived at their castle, the person who'd invited me instantly saw right through me. This was something that neither Louis nor Wilhelm knew about. My truth, my secrets, my good side, my bad side. He was the first one who pointed them all out to me.
にもかかわらずあまり恐れていないようだが、ただの定感でもないようだね。ほう、察するに過剰なのだね。とう、これは面白い。ベイもなかなかに見る目がある。君もカチンに行くのかね。ならばこれも縁だ。
Does she really have, like, angelic ability? He then pointed at my rosary, which was silver back then.
お嬢さん、光を求めるならもっといいものを持ちたまえ。聖職者に俗な価値観を植え付けるようで恐縮だが、知る限り神もさほど暇ではない。祈りを天へ届かせるには相応の場所なり時なり、または装いなどがあるのだよ。それを覚えておくべきだ。
Oh dear.
君は真に光足らんとしているのである。その渇望を成就させることに迷いがないなら。
Her crave. Then be thorough in human matters, he said. That too is sincerity toward faith.
君は三千と輝く天の御使い、愛の契約によって昇華するメタトロンとして生まれたのだから。
What? Metatron? Enoch? Holy shit, she is an angel?
ただ、そのようにあるのが真理と心得たまえ。
Oh. After that, I'd went on to find this rosary at the deepest part of Katyn. It had been placed atop the coffin Louis had said to be sleeping in. The burial chamber had been shrouded in darkness, and yet the rosary seemed to be emitting a faint light. I didn't know if that was actually true or not, but there certainly was some sort of resonance between me and the item. My soul connected to the rosary, which made it easy for me to find it in the dark, and when I did, I instantly remembered the man's words. If I truly wished to become the light and had no doubts about realizing that desire, I had to wear attire worthy of an apostle. He wasn't wrong about that, so I didn't resist those words. In fact, I wanted to act on them myself. I'd known that it was akin to grave robbing, but the temptation won over the taboo. And that was most likely why, the reason why the darkness, Louis' shadow, instantly vanished from the cavern was because I put on the rosary. Of course, thinking about it, the object had also been the brief flashes of his memories I'd seen through my dreams. Louis was seeking a soulmate, and an old magician bestowed upon him a certain object. He'd claimed that it was the perfect decoration for the bride of Methuselah, the child of light. Oh my god!
これがそうなの？
The rosary affirmed it. It drained me and released light, shining with strength and brilliance that could perhaps last an eternity. It changed me into what I was supposed to be.
Claudia!
I couldn't reply to the voice calling for me. No, don't look at me. Please, no, please do. My will was being burned away. No, my will was now my craving, and I was being turned into nothing but it alone.
Wilhelm.
Why did this have to happen now? Knowing the meaning of my life and death and becoming aware of my true self gave me the final greatest sense of bliss.
In principio creavit des.
Nope. 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 We're not doing this now. I don't have time. God damn it, I don't have time for this. Ugh. I wasn't prepared for that. God damn it. I hate this. I hate this so much. I don't have... I was hoping... I don't have time for another... Also, I wasn't ready for... God damn it all. Why? Dear Zero, I love you, but why do you do this to me? Why? I don't have time. I used to be able to have time to record extra long episodes like this, but god damn it. Hell, that Makai Kingdom video from yesterday was literally 3 days worth of recording time, because I spent almost, 3 days? Yeah, almost 3 days getting that entire thing recorded and edited all together. Something that I was able to do in a single night, it now takes me a larger amount of time to even do, and I don't have time for it right now. He's Irae, god damn it. Okay, I'm done. Think else. Okay. Okay, first off, battle between Wilhelm and Methuselah. Fucking great. And now that the supreme being of darkness has gone, congratulations, Claudia. You're gonna become the embodiment of light. And Wilhelm's fucking on death's door. Yeah, so that's great. That's fantastic. That's utterly great. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm out. Thank you all so much for fucking... I'll see you guys next time.